Armenia is an amazing country in the southern Caucasus. A country characterized by grassy plateaus, beautiful lakes, majestic mountains, a country rich in Christian heritage, but it's a nation with very poor economy, where people live very modest lives and don't need much to feel happy. Welcome to Extremely Low Cost Travels. Armenia, Part 3, from Lake Sevan to Lake Arpi. In the current episode, we'll continue our journey through Armenia. We'll visit the iconic Lake Sevan. We'll learn about the lake's eutrophication. We'll explore nearby wetlands. Next, we'll visit northern provinces. We'll be pleased with the multitude of vintage cars. Finally, we'll get to Lake Arpi National Park. In the previous episodes, we started our adventure of exploring Armenia. We arrived here from Central Europe and we were immediately surprised by the condition of roads, the abundance of still used Soviet cars, the modest appearance of the villages, the scary look of the Aragats research station, and the amazing nature of the Aragats area. Now let's focus on the famous Lake Sevan. We spent the night in the forest by the Sevan Lake, in the vicinity of the Lichk village. Time to find out what one of the most popular tourist destinations in Armenia has to offer. So let's take a walk along the shores of the Sevan Lake. And let's enjoy the water, teeming with algae. Yesterday the water was much cleaner. Today it looks like a green paint. It seems like nobody will feel like taking a swim. But why is Lake Sevan so polluted? We'll try to find the answer to that question. Lake Sevan is the largest body of water in Armenia and the Caucasus region. Moreover, it is one of the largest freshwater high-altitude lakes in Eurasia. The total surface area of the lake is about 5,000 square kilometers and it's about 1/6 of Armenia's territory. The lake sits at an altitude of about 1,900 meters above sea level and reaches the maximum depth of about 80 meters. Sevan was heavily exploited for irrigation of the Ararat Plain and hydroelectric power generation during the Soviet period. Consequently, the water volume decreased by about 40%. Because of that and the development of tourist infrastructure, the lake faces environmental problems, resulting in increased eutrophication of its waters. The eutrophication is manifested by a strong algae bloom in the lake waters. Despite that, Lake Sevan serves as an essential ecological zone supporting diverse flora and fauna, including endemic species. The The Sevan Lake is fed by 28 rivers and streams, but only one river flows out of the lake, draining off about 10% of incoming water. The remaining 90% evaporates. Many rivers create wetlands that are important to sustain biodiversity. Wetlands around these rivers create important habitats for various species of flora and fauna. They serve as resting places for many water birds during their migration, and for some of them, they act as breeding grounds. Wetlands play an important role in purifying water. They act as natural filters, dropping sediments and pollutions. Thanks to the wetlands, the rivers that feed the Lake Sevan not only contribute to the lake's water volume, but also improve the lake's water quality. The southern shores of the Lake Sevan are covered with forests. But forests are not a common sight in this mountainous country. The growth of trees here is possible due to the relatively mild climate influenced by the presence of the large lake. The rivers flowing through the forested areas are exceptionally picturesque. Let's enjoy the views of meandering rivers from the bird's eye view. Time to see other places around the Lake Sevan, but only the ones that can be easily accessible. But before we go, let's do the laundry. Now we are heading towards southeastern shores of the lake. The publicly accessible beaches in the southern part of the lake are sandy and quite charming. Unfortunately, the lake waters are experiencing a mass bloom of algae, so very few people will choose to swim. Another issue plaguing the shores of the lake is pervasive litter. Armenians seem not to care about the cleanliness of the environment. Time to drive around the lake towards north. In the town of Vardenis, we came across one of many characteristic Armenian churches. This one, the church Surp Astvatsatin, what means Holy Mother of God, is not as old as many other churches in Armenia. The church dates back to the year 1905. The Vardenis town is characterized by modest material conditions. Similar to most cities in Armenia, you can find old, well-worn cars here. It's very disheartening that within 2 months of our departure, the town of Vardenis was attacked by the Azerbaijani army, forcing the residents to evacuate. We need to drive further towards Georgia. The roads in Armenia are really interesting. You never know what will happen, but thanks to that, driving is not boring. After a while, we arrived to the Artanishi-Tarakzi Peninsula. Let's enjoy the views of Lake Sevan before we leave the lakeside for good. Here in the northern part of the lake, the algae don't grow as densely as in the south, but they are still present in slightly smaller quantities. Time to go further on our way towards Georgia. On the northwestern shores of the Sevan Lake, you can come across slightly scary, unfinished buildings of tourist resorts. Unfortunately, they greatly mar the landscape. Time to go further towards Lake Arpi National Park. On the way, we could admire beautiful mountainous landscapes with colorful flowering meadows. While visiting one of the towns in northwestern Armenia, we came across a parking lot full of very old buses. These, however, aren't part of vintage bus gathering. The remarkably aged bus fleet is the backbone of public transportation in Armenia. Here the buses are called marshrutkas. Most buses are powered by rooftop-mounted tanks filled with methane gas. Let's drive further using the wonderfully maintained roads. It's good to be back again in the countryside. Now we're heading towards Lake Arpi National Park. And we are pleasantly surprised by the good quality of the road. We love the open spaces of northern Armenia. The night is falling. I don't think we'll get today to the Lake Arpi. Time to set up a tent for the night. Another beautiful morning has come. The climate in northern Armenia is more humid, evident in distant mountain ranges, shrouded in mists. Let's drive to the northern shores of the Lake Arpi. The villages in northern provinces look poor and neglected. but the vast wild expanses create an incredible impression. The local meadows spread out at altitudes above 2,000 meters. And in the summer they beautifully display a wide range of colors from blooming flowers. Our goal for now is the area nearby, the Zorakard village. The beautiful view of the Lake Arpry unfolds right here. Lake Arpry is located at an altitude of over 2,020 meters. In the first half of the 20th century, it was a small lake, covering an area of 4.5 square kilometers. But after building a dam in the year 1950, its size increased to 20 square kilometers. The lake is fed mainly by tolls and a few small streams. The lake itself is the source of the Akurian River. Its average and maximum depth is about 4 and 8 meters respectively. The lake has rich flora and fauna, and the national park was established around the lake in the year 2009. More than 140 species of birds have been observed around the lake. Armenian gull, pelicans, different species of ducks, and other migrating birds can be seen here. You can also meet here Eurasian otter and various species of fish. The area around the lake is surrounded by mountains. The highest peaks exceed 2,900 meters. Such land is not optimal for agricultural cultivation. But wherever possible, people try to establish arable plots. Time is running out. Today we have to get back to Turkey, so it's time to leave this beautiful place. Since Turkey and Armenia have tense relations, there is no active border crossing between the two countries. This is why we have to drive back to Georgia and then to Turkey. Along the way, we encountered typical Armenian provincial villages where the population leads modest lives. The villages very often lack the paved roads, and the buildings are maintained in a simple way. Like in many other places in Armenia, also here most households produce bricks from grass and animal dung, which are used in the wintertime as fuel. Solar panels are an excellent solution for those who can afford them. In the province, there are many classic cars that are still in constant use. Spare parts for them are available and cheap, so these cars are still in working condition. In Europe, they would be valuable classics. A fairly common sight in Armenia are fences made of car wrecks. We've come across them multiple times. These fences serve to protect valuable possessions such as bricks from shit and grass. In the vicinity of villages, one can come across old cemeteries. There you can find both old destroyed graves and newer ones from the Soviet times. This is the last Armenian church we encountered on our way to Georgia. Let's take a closer look. In a moment, we'll cross the border with Georgia. It's time to say goodbye to Armenia. We are enchanted by this country. Its scenic landscapes, from the iconic Lake Sevan to the wild expanses in the north, offer breathtaking beauty. We are also pleasantly surprised by friendly attitude of locals towards visitors to this country. We will miss Armenia. Georgia welcomed us with beautiful scenery of Madatapa Lake. In July, this place looks very picturesque due to the abundance of flowers in the surrounding meadows. Time to go further ahead. In the village of Gorolovka, a rather unpleasant surprise awaited us. Driving here with open windows might be a bad idea. In mid-July, children from the village usually run through the streets with buckets. And of course, they splashed us with water. We searched the internet if there is any tradition of splashing people with water in Georgia, but we found nothing. The only event similar to observed situation is the Armenian tradition of Vardavar, also known as Water Festival, celebrated 14 weeks after Easter. I guess this tradition also persists in the border regions of Georgia. We had to make a stop to dry things out. Fortunately, no electronic devices were soaked. While waiting for things to dry, we decided to take a short walk in the nearby pine forest. Let's go towards Turkey. The beautiful nature of eastern Georgia often makes us stop to admire the views. Now we are very close to the border. And this border crossing is very picturesque because of the presence of Kartsakli Lake. Let's stay here a little bit longer to admire amazing scenery. On the horizon you can see the flags of the border crossing. Time to say goodbye to Georgia and welcome back to Turkey. In the next episodes, we'll drive all the way back through Turkey, where we'll come across many lesser known places, such as Devil's Castle. We'll explore beautiful red hills, areas north of Ararat, the iconic Van Lake, the Charpanek Island, a lake and volcanic crater, Forgotten Stone City, famous Nemrut Mountain, characteristic valleys of Cappadocia, amazing Lake Sauda, Pamukkale water terraces, Hula Divlit volcanic park, and many other interesting places.